can get some.
This was a game-changing debate in the sense that right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic. It involves party strategists, it involves elected officials, it involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket, and they're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible.
2 weeks later.
Videos you've seen of Donald Trump in the last week have been his ass in a golf cart, disrespecting people. The president's been out on the road campaigning. They're going to be spending $50 million in just a few battleground states over the next several weeks. I think these two things are really going to help us even out these numbers. Thanks, y'all.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
Hi, I'm Florida Secretary of State Cord Byrd.
And I'm Mary Jane Arrington, Supervisor of Elections for Osceola County.
We're here together to assure you of our dedication to election integrity and transparency of the election process at every step of the way.
We know that you take your duty to vote very seriously, which is why we want to offer some basic tips to prepare you for a smooth voting process.
First, make sure you meet the requirements to vote in Florida and take note of important election deadlines.
Second, study the sample ballot for Osceola County and be familiar with what's on your ballot. Pre-mark your ballot and bring it with you to vote.
Third, when you go to vote, know where your polling location is and be sure you bring with you an acceptable form of identification.
And finally, fill in those ovals correctly.
In Florida, we have 3 voting methods: voting on Election Day, voting early, and vote by mail.
And if you're voting early, check the website, voteosceola.com, for dates and locations of our early voting sites in Osceola County.
What did we just see, guys?
Yeah.
What is that? I mean, is that for real?
Well, that's for real, unfortunately. Welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. This is going to be a great show. This is School Board Member John Arguello, your Republican candidate for State Senate District 25, our great friend, Citizen Tom Lord, and Supervisor of Elections candidate here, Jim, who's going to talk to us, Jim Trouts, who's going to talk to us about his race and what we just saw, that catastrophe of video, Mary Jane Arrington lying from her teeth again, in the sense that this is a normal process and that we can all trust it and so on and so forth. What we just saw was a travesty. A Republican state, what is his name? What is his title? Secretary of State. Okay, so a Republican Secretary of State who came down to Osceola, and what is his name again? I'm trying to erase this from my memory as it happens, because this guy comes down to Osceola County. He reprimanded her, from what I understand, of some sort, and because she violated state statute 2 election cycles in a row, and then he comes down and does a video with her about how we can trust our elections. That was my impression, just in the body language and stuff, giving her essentially an endorsement. Why would this ever happen? I have no idea. First of all, why wasn't she removed the first or the second time she violated state statute when it comes to election laws? It is beyond me. The fact that she can write an email in response and just say, oh, never mind, we got it. We're taking care of it. We understand. But here's the mitigating factor to her saving her career at all is the fact that she got on TV, on the news, and lied to all of our faces saying that Magnolia Press are the ones that did this mistake. She knew right then that she was lying, and she did it anyways, and she did it on the news to all of the public. And I don't know that I can forgive her for that. I'll never forgive her for that as a public official. I just can't do it. Jim, what are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I am floored. I don't know any other way of saying that, you know. And look, it goes beyond the stuff that we saw with the mail-out ballots. You know, logic and accuracy testing, we were denied access to that. And so that was one of the things.
It's another violation of state statute.
Right. We've got photos of election workers, you know, asleep, you know, in front of the supervisor of elections office, you know, watching our drop boxes. You know, we had people's addresses on poll watcher tags. And so, I mean, I'm speechless. I just don't know what I had people call me up, dropping F-bombs, you know, as though I had something to do with this, you know, and I'm looking at this and I'm the same way. Look, this happened, the Secretary of State actually called her office back in August of 2022 and said, look, we got a complaint that you got something going on. And so later on, the same thing happened in October of 23. And so then they put her on a remediation plan or something like that. It's almost.
But did that remediation plan call for them saving her in an election where she's likely going to lose? I mean, was that the remediation plan was how to get her back into a position that wasn't so vulnerable?
It was a 10-day plan, so whatever that was.
I mean, it was 10 days. No, I just don't understand. I mean, did Mr. Byrd call you and say, hey, listen, Jim, let's talk about, you guys are two running, let's get you guys both of you on the stage and give you equal footing to make sure to give to the people assurances that no matter who's in office, they're going to take care of your problem? I mean, was this fair at all?
No, you know, here's a comment that somebody said to me. They said, well, you know, this is a public relations thing. The Secretary of State does this periodically with people. He goes out, wants to make sure that supervisors are doing their jobs. And the question was asked to me was, well, how many other supervisor of elections has he done this with? And I said, I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
That's a great public records request right there.
I don't know if he's done that with anybody else. Is there some
I mean,
some validity to that? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, but
does somebody who violated state statute twice?
That would be my point. That was exactly my point. Saying I don't know how it can be valid. You know, the fact that she's still sitting there is just incredible to me. Let alone that, you know, we've got the Secretary of State who cited her alongside of her doing this stuff on the front page of the county page. It's not like there was an email that went out or anything else. And they talk about, you know, our commitment to transparency and election integrity. And I'm thinking to myself, transparency?
Yeah.
No.
I wonder how many people know about the stuff
She
that
lied.
I did, you know?
She lied.
Yeah, election integrity. I mean, good gracious.
On the news. Wait a second. Hold on. Listen.
You can't make this up.
She went on the news. We all saw it. We couldn't believe it. We all had our mouths open, hanging open, saying, this woman is lying. She said that Magnolia Press did this. It was their fault. She blamed them.
Yeah.
And I think that Magnolia Press, I don't know for sure, but I think that Magnolia Press then fired her as a client for lying about them. So I just don't understand how she wasn't because here's the thing. You make a mistake, okay, no problem. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then she repeated that mistake. Right? And this is a violation. This is a supervisor of elections. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't control policy. She doesn't make law. She doesn't do any of that. It's purely ministerial. Your job is essentially a secretary. You do a secretarial job of making sure that you're executing the tasks that are involved with elections. She violated state statute twice. The same violation. This is not two different mistakes in two different areas. She violated state statute twice. Then she lied about it on TV, on the news, not by accident. She intentionally knew that she was telling us an untruth. And I don't know how then for the Secretary of State to come down and then do what is essentially a campaign video for her. I mean, I'm hurt by it as a citizen of Osceola County, and I know that it's not good, right? Like, candidates are not supposed to, they're supposed to stay out of anybody's business and just focus on their own race, but I can't help but feel like your race is one of the most important races that is going on right now in terms of keeping our elections safe. We have the lowest voter turnout. We have the lowest voter education. We have a host of problems. And when you combine all that together, I just don't know, like Tom's headline, UNiparty, I can't help but become a conspiracy theorist and think that this is terrible for all of us. I mean, it's
And this is on the heels of just a few weeks ago, the issue we had with going out and using taxpayer dollars to bring somebody
To campaign.
out to go ahead and allegedly do a voter registration and promote all of her stuff, having stuff out there.
Okay, so tell us about that situation. This is the last part. We're gonna do this, and then we're gonna go into our prayer and start the show. But please tell me what happened at that.
So,
while I'm sharing, I'm not ignoring him. I'm sharing. I know the story.
Army guy.
I said I was gonna focus right here on a little bit. I'm gonna do this
focusing on anything. So a few weeks ago, every realtor in Osceola County got a text saying that that there was a voter registration that was going on at the Osceola County Association of Realtors place. And so I thought it was a little odd. Willie, one of our neighbors, was out there. He thought it was a little odd. And we thought, well, look, if they've got this many this many people that are going to be there with voter registration, let's gather up a team of people. Let's see if we can help. We've been doing this stuff for 2 years. We've been going to churches, different civic events, out in parks, just trying to register people. And so we're familiar with it. So we go there. There's myself and a team of 3 other people. Now, we wanted to make sure that this was not a campaign event. And one of the people...
For you guys.
For us. You know, we wanted to make sure people knew that this was something that we were doing for voter registration. So there was one person that had a campaign button. I said, make sure you take it off. We're not here for that. We're here to people register. So we go upstairs. People didn't say a word to us. We didn't bother anybody. There's a classroom of about 70 people that are up there. Nobody realized that we were even out there. We go up there. We're all set to go. The only materials we had were voter registration materials. So we're talking to the young lady, happens to be from the SOE's office. We tell her we're here to help. She looked at us and said, here to help with what? I said, well, here to help with voter registration. And she looked very puzzled. And
She had no idea, right?
I guess she might have been a little puzzled. I said, look, you had a lot of people that this thing went out to. There's thousands and thousands of realtors. We do this. We're here to help. I said, look, let me make this easy. How many people have you registered so far? 0.
Yeah.
I said, okay. There's obviously no need for us to be here. So we packed up our stuff and we left. Now, interestingly enough, we took all of our campaign stuff, but there were tote bags there with Mary Jane Arrington's name on them. There were dribble, or what do you call those, doodle pads with her name. There were pens that were there. There was a keychain that didn't even have anything to do with supervisor of elections, just her phone number and her name. All this stuff was out there, and nothing was done. So, and I might add you that it was somebody from the supervisor of elections office that was out there doing this. Now, interestingly enough, as soon as we left, we were out in the parking lot. We were just talking about what we were going to do next. The girl that was up in the supervisor of election, or in the Oscar associational area, came downstairs, hopped in her car, took a left, and went straight to the supervisor of elections office. So,
She was running the Mary Jane.
yeah. I got a call a little bit later on stating that they thought that it was unprofessional and that it was a conflict of interest for me to be there. I said, a conflict of interest for me to be there? I said, you don't see... Yeah.
This is when my brain starts to
This is
hurt.
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So a conflict of interest.
Things here.
Yeah, a conflict of interest exists because you're there as a candidate helping people register, which they're not doing as the supervisor of election. But there's no conflict of interest for Mary Jane to oversee the election of her daughter-in-law and son.
Yeah.
Or herself. Or to have campaign materials of her own there. They may say supervisor of elections, but they're supposed to be registering people to vote. But really it's just hey, here we are, supervisor of elections, Mary Jane.
It's a campaign event.
That was the exact question I asked. Exactly the same question. I said, you don't see a conflict of interest? And by the way, we were there free of charge.
Right.
The person that was there registering people, I was told they registered people, but that would be another FOIA request to find out. But that was a taxpayer expense. So, I don't know. Look, we went there trying to do something good to help out. It got blown all out of proportion, and to me it seemed like it wasn't a registration event as much as it was somebody promoting themselves at taxpayer expense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what
I've
I
never
got.
met a realtor who was a citizen who was not registered to vote. So it's crazy that you would go and, right, it seems like it's the wrong audience. However, if you're looking to get votes for yourself, then it's the right audience, right? Because they contribute, there's a PAC, obviously they're also in control. Okay, so let me say this about Oscar. I said that we were going to pray and do the show next, but anyways, we got to talk about this. By the way, this is going to be a great show. This is just the beginning of a really good Florida show. So we got all kinds of hot and juicy stuff to talk about. But here, this is
shameful, really.
It's shameful. It really is. So
It is.
So here's one funny aspect. Okay, Oscar itself, right? The Realtor Association of Osceola County. Everybody knows when you run for office, they invite you to come and take part in that. But it's BS. It's not true. Everybody knows they're going to endorse a certain person before you ever get there. So I tell candidates, don't even bother going. It's a waste of time. So for the first year ever, half of the candidates didn't even bother going to their interviews because they already know it's fake.
Oh, wait, I forgot to mention. I didn't even mention this. Coincidentally, the endorsement interviews were 2 days before this happened.
No kidding.
I kid you not. Now, I was one of those people that were in there, and they asked me questions.
Did they endorse in that race already?
They haven't endorsed anybody that I know
Yeah.
of, but
They might not because of the reaction.
The timing was just too coincidental. You know, you have the endorsement interviews. 2 days later, you get a text that goes out to every single realtor inside of Osceola County. The day after that is when we have this incident. So, I don't know.
I don't know. Listen, it's crazy. Listen, here's my point. They've turned it into such a fake show, a dog and pony show, that has no real consequence, that no candidates are going to go anymore. It's just like, why am I going to go waste my time going to do the realtors? And that's a real disservice to the realtor. Or, all my families are, my brother-in-law, my sister, my other sister, my wife, my mom, everybody's, has a real estate license. And I think I'm the only one that doesn't. And the fact that they are willing to hijack the power of the realtors for their own personal benefits of the people of this, not even just the committee members, but of this small group of that I call the Osceola oligarchy, because that's who they serve.
Absolutely.
And now they're either not going to endorse because of all the reaction and negative press that they're getting because of what they've done, or they're going to for sure endorse her. They're not going to endorse you, right? Like that's 99.99%
They're still going to
certain.
endorse John. They'll still endorse.
Yeah, but it's going to be Mary Jane.
Yeah.
All right? Like we already know that. We already know that they're going to endorse I could tell you all the people that they're going to endorse in advance of them endorsing them.
Actually, when we go to the list of endorsements that came out last night,
It's the same.
it's the same.
It's the
gonna be
same.
the same
At the
people.
chamber, the chamber
It's gonna
does
be
the same
people.
thing. It's a joke. Okay. Anyways, now this time for real. Let's say our prayer. You want to say a prayer for us tonight? Okay, great.
So, Father in heaven, we come before your throne of grace this evening, and we are thankful for this wonderful country that we live in. We're thankful, God, that we have you to be with us, guide us, direct us, and convict us. We are thankful that we have the opportunity to speak our minds in forums like this. Father, we would pray that you just put your hand on all of those people inside of this county and everywhere in our nation who are striving to do your will, who are striving to make this country and this place a better place. We would ask, God, that you would bless this forum tonight, bless John, bless Tom, bless all those that are listening this evening, bless all of our candidates, regardless of party, regardless of affiliation. We thank them for all stepping up, but we ask, God, that you bless them all. Now, as we go into this time, we just ask that you continue to guide us, lead us, and direct us in all that we do. And we do this, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Well, I'm not sure that was a good idea because now I feel like I have to behave, Tom. And usually we don't.
Listen, I want to clarify something. When I was talking about what was going on at the Realtor Association, the Code of Ethics says you're not supposed to talk bad about other realtors. I'm not talking bad about other realtors.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest thing is just how far do these tentacles go? If you can do this with, manipulate, the associations, and then you've got the Secretary of State that's doing stuff. I mean, to me, that just blows my mind.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, listen, I grew up in Chicago, and my mom was the leader of the Democrat Party. She was the one you had to kiss her ring if you wanted to be somebody. And so I grew up around this kind of stuff. I got to tell you, I just have not seen this kind of filth in a long time.
I know.
I mean, it's just,
I
it's
know.
amazing to me. It blows my mind.
Listen, that sentiment, hits me deep because when I remember, I know why I ran. Like a lot of politicians say, like in your situation, right? People were asking you to run.
Yeah.
And I know that that's true because I was one of the people that asked you to run.
You were.
So I wasn't the only one.
Right.
So nobody came and said, John, will you please run? Will you please run the way that you were asked? I knew in my heart, I'm going to run because I yearned for the public service of running for office. And ever since I was a kid, right? So, but in my family, it was like, if you run for office and you represent your community, this is a distinction of honor that you bring to your family. You go, you serve well, and it brings honor to your family name, right? It was like one of these things that were important to us as a first-generation American family. And when you get elected, and then I'm sitting with a whole bunch of morons, number one, and then morons who have no honor, number two. Right? It's one thing to be a dumb guy and have honor at least, but when you're a dumb guy and you have no honor, there's really, for me at least, there's really no, I mean, it's just a really bad feeling. You get up there and you realize that you're just with a bunch of snakes, right?
Yeah.
And so that was heartbreaking for me. So now that I've been in this battle for, probably the last 10 years of my life, I've been fighting the establishment in Osceola County. For the last 4 years as an elected official where I really turned up the heat. And now we can see that people are starting to spring up and fight against this establishment that's here in Osceola County that's really corrupt. I can say that, it's good that this happens almost. It's really not good, but at least I think people are waking up to the reality that this county is highly corrupt, very corrupt. And it's not just Arguello saying it. Now you're seeing other people who come with good intentions be impacted by the corruption of people who have nothing but bad intentions. So anyways, okay, so please like and share the show. Okay, we're going to get started. We got a whole bunch of great news. As a matter of fact, we're going to go through the restream here, our headlines. Let me pull that up. See, I was trying to stay focused, so I even closed all my windows. Here we go. We're going to open it up. Okay, it's hard for me to stay focused. I have like ADD of the worst kind. I have like ADD. So here we go. Okay, so what you saw early, Frost not worried about deep and wide, go figure, divide, by the way. UNiparty video shocks Republicans who watch SOE break law and lie on the news. That's what we just saw and just spoke about. DeSantis, his home protection legislation battles squatters, and so it's working, legislation that works, imagine that. And why Biden gave up on Florida and who is telling Nikki Fried. Nikki Fried is still saying that Florida didn't play. We know that's not the case. State Senate candidate sues the Republican apparatus for a big mix-up over there, some alleged defamation. No on number 4 campaign gets heated up. As you all know here on the show, we're a no on 4. Woman threatens to kill Governor DeSantis. That's kind of crazy, right? St. Cloud axes their art fee. School district axes sports, upsetting some. Commissioners change direction on moratorium. The moratorium came up and people were like, what? This is, wow, what, a victory? No, of course they changed their minds. Lopez suffers withering fire and attacks as opponents salivate at the opportunity to replace him. And more on this episode of Unsanctioned America. This is episode 21, July 11, 2024. Welcome. Please like and share. Let's get right down to it.
Let's get into the state of Florida. All right. So first up, John. You said it just now. Governor DeSantis, his law that he passed to end the scam of squatting. These Florida homeowners are fighting squatters with this law. There's a little video that explains their story.
Another shocking case of illegal squatting making headlines. This time it's down in the Sunshine State. Police kicking 10 people out of a $1 million house in Fort Lauderdale. They were illegally occupying this home. Our next guest says this is one of hundreds of similar cases that he's encountered. Broward County, Florida property appraiser Marty Kerr joins us now. Hey, Marty.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming on. This seems to be a big story. We're covering this more and more. What happened in this one case?
So this is a very interesting story. So just to give you an idea, there were a lot of crimes that allegedly occurred here. The first thing that occurred was the house at issue was actually stolen by a person who was arrested, and he stole it through the court system by basically saying that the actual owner of the property no longer wanted the property. And then the return of service went to his buddy who was in a mobile home in another county. And he said, oh, yeah, I represent the property owner. We don't want it anymore. Put it in this other guy's name. The court issued the order, gave him the property. He was arrested, and he's actually in the Broward County Jail. But what he did was he then moved a whole bunch of his buddies and other people into the property. And what happens when somebody steals a property, not only is the actual owner of the property a victim, but they can also victimize the community. And in this situation, one of those individuals, right about 2 or 3 in the morning, one day walked out of this property, went to a neighbor's property, tried a whole bunch of different doors, and actually was able to break in. And he was actually standing over the bed of the neighbor and his wife. The wife woke up, of course, was screaming. The dog chased the man out. He was arrested for burglary. They gave him an ankle monitor, released him, and he went right back to the stolen house. And when I found out about that, I wanted to get rid of all the people in the house. I wanted to remove them all. And so we actually worked with law enforcement, with the Fayetteville Police Department, with the Broward Sheriff's Office. And fortunately, we did. And we were able to return the property to the rightful owner. And also, we were able to protect the property by removing the squatters that were in the house. And I think something that's very, very important that people don't always know. It's very important to remove people that don't belong in a house, that don't own the house, for a few reasons. The first is you want to get the property back to the actual owner. You want to protect the community, but you also need to protect the people that are actually squatting in the house because they're living in very dangerous conditions. There's no electricity, no utilities. In this situation, they even had a child in there. And so they're living in these conditions that can be dangerous just on a lot of levels. And that's why this is a very big priority of our office to really undertake all of these cases in Broward County.
Gosh, I see these commercials on Fox all the time of how to protect the title of your home, that someone could easily just steal your title, which seems crazy. They left floor damage, they left wall damage, and a large bug infestation. Not fair to the homeowners, but I'm glad down in Florida y'all are getting these squatters out. Up here in New York, the squatters seem to have more rights than the homeowners. They get to live there, and you can't really, it's hard to get them out. So, Marty, thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, here's the thing. Squatters, it's one thing to be a squatter in an abandoned house and whatever, and even that is not a great scenario. Thank God in Florida we have a governor that fought squatters right away. We saw this happening in the Northeast, and we have legislation here that prevents people. This is a guy. So a guy goes into the home. He forges documents and the processes so that he could say that he was the legal owner of this home. Then he brings in a whole bunch of friends, which you just can't throw out into the street, right? So this guy gets in. He takes over this house. It's $1 million property. And then one of these squatters, one of the 10 people goes in, imagine, stands over your bed and wife in the middle of the night, and the dog chases them away. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, thank God that we have the governor that we did. If we were in New York, then we would have been sued for scaring the burglar. You know, I mean, it's just, it's nuts what's going on. This is nuts. This is nuts. Good story here. Florida's doing the right thing. When we have good legislation, it protects the American family. That's what we're looking for. That's the #1 priority.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank God for Governor DeSantis. If we didn't have him,
imagine Gillum. Imagine Gillum.
Yeah.
Gillum would have been in the garage with the guys who were squatting.
Yeah,
be like Amsterdam.
Snorting and shooting something.
Exactly. Toes down on a cot. Hey, it wasn't me. It was him. He did it to himself.
That's the picture you never forget.
I'll never. Yeah, I know.
Something you just can't unsee.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, John. So we keep hearing the Florida Democrats say that Florida's in play. Florida's in play. Well, guess what? This is why Biden and Democrats have given up on winning Florida, and you know, there she is. Had to find the best picture we could find of her.
Nikki is she's the, you can't even say, I was going to say she's the strangest woman in politics, but that's not true. You have people like Gretchen up there in wherever she's from, in the Arctic Circle, right? Yeah, I don't even know. She's not really, is she in Michigan, or is it like the, what's the Wicked Witch's house home neighborhood from the Wizard of Oz? This is an absolute, it's crazy. It's like they're possessed or something.
Yeah,
I mean, what is it with these? her like claim to fame is being arrested for a protest that she had to force the police to arrest her.
Yeah, that and her love of marijuana.
I mean, you can't get a name like Fried without being in love with marijuana.
I saw her at that Journey concert last night.
Well, to answer Nikki Fried, President Biden's chief campaign aide, Jen O'Malley Dillon, dismissed the party's chances in the state with one word: no. The interviewer thanked her for not lying, but Florida Democrats and even the Biden campaign itself took longer to formulate responses. President's investments, thus far, there's little evidence of either. We know Biden, for various reasons, is not a particularly active campaigner as his political career comes to a close, but there is nothing on the ground here to suggest he's willing to wade in personally and make a concerted effort to pitch Florida voters on why he needs 4 more years. Democrats in the state have set up a series of tomato cans to run for legislative seats with Republican registration advantages, with the idea being they'll synergize with the top of the ticket and bring voters out. But these political neophytes have no clue, not about fundraising, not about the mechanics of a campaign, and not about the fool's errand that they have embraced for reasons that seem more like ego fulfillment than electoral success.
Well, I mean, here's.
That's why, right there.
Yeah, that's why. We called it. We called it on the show, right? The minute that they were, that we saw that they sent a backup player, a backup to the back. We're not talking about the third string quarterback. We're talking about the guy who brings the third string quarterback a towel in the locker room. That's who they put in. That's who they put in to manage the campaign for Biden in Florida. Yeah, Florida's not going to be in play. Otherwise, you send your star player. You send your first round draft, right? You send the quarterback that you just brought, right? This is not, it's not in play. Now, there's all kinds of proof that, we knew way in advance. Number one, when the governor wins by 20 percentage points, you're not going to go and fight in a state where the governor wins. Even here in Osceola County, right? He won in Osceola County. All 4 of the top people on the ballot won in Osceola County. In the bluest district, you're gonna go and fight and spend money? No. And then obviously they see the polls and the trends. There's literally no hope for Biden in Florida. So
let's not forget their convention where they sent out all those invites and nobody showed up.
Nobody showed up. The only thing that they could get is people to send videos. I mean, how embarrassing that you have a convention and nobody comes to Florida. It's the 3rd largest state in the country, and you can't get anybody to come to the state convention? I mean, it tells you that they're in a desperate situation. So what was their plan? We called that too, right? Yeah, they're going to put Democrats in every single seat and contest every single seat. Here's what that does. Everybody, all the crazy Democrats, right, who they're going to take a break from dyeing their hair blue and they're going to go to the polls, right? That's what's going to happen. That's the strategic value of putting somebody on every ballot. So, because there's a super minority of Democrats, a super majority of Republicans, why didn't the Republicans combat that by putting somebody, even somebody who wasn't going to raise $1 million, even somebody who maybe wasn't ready, but just put somebody in there to gain the experience of being on the battlefield, fight, drain the Democrats' money from campaigning, and then hold on to all of our strong seats and make encroaches where you can. It makes sense, like District 25. It's the perfect example. Fight in District 25 because the Democrats, it's a stake in their heart. They'd have to die to stay alive, right? They'd have to leave all of their resources here. They wouldn't be able to fight against Corey Simon in North Florida. They wouldn't be able to fight a whole bunch of these other seats, and they would have just abandoned the project altogether. Right? So what did we do instead? We surrendered. We're doing videos with a corrupt supervisor of elections. I mean, it never ends. The only thing that can get the GOP from dominating and increasing our leads is the GOP itself. The Democrat Party just has no credibility. It looks like they must have been high when they came up with their strategy, right? And that makes sense. They probably wrote their strategy on a bunch of rolling paper. It just doesn't make any sense what our reaction to it is. And I hope that we change course and that we fix it because we can. And we can obliterate the Democrats. So the question is, just like the national question, why is it that Republicans are afraid to lead when the time comes, when the opportunity presents itself to make the party the most moral, the most valuable, the most successful? We drop the ball. Why is that? Why is that? It's purely intentional because these are not dumb people.
UNiparty.
I mean, that, if you can make a case for it.
Yeah.
If it's not the case, then I would love to see evidence against it. But look at who our chief consultants are. People like Anthony Pedicini, right? When you have people like Pedicini out there, who's a consultant for the Republican Party, and the only thing he does, half of his time, it seems like it's spent on attacking Republicans, right? And not bad Republicans, not the rhinos. He's trying to elect rhinos, and he's hitting the true conservatives who the people want. We saw it in District 35. We saw it when Erica Booth was running against Scotty Moore, right? Scotty with a Y. So Scotty with a Y was tearing it up, raised a whole bunch of money on his own. It was campaigning like crazy. People were helping him. People were behind him. And the party sacked him. And then they helped to the tune of $2 million worth of support Erica Booth. Not just the party, PACs, we know, dark money, all that stuff, right? And they helped her. And that was a lost cause. And now they're helping her again. She does not deserve to be in the House. She does not deserve to be representing people of Osceola County. I mean, at some point, the party has to say, you know what? We can't fight against our own people. All right, let's all get on the same page. I mean, look at the attacks on the FRA right now. It just seems like one thing after another, after another, after another. Let's not shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, and speaking of which, John, it leads us to our next story. This Republican Senate candidate is suing the GOP committee, the senatorial committee, over defamatory political mailers.
Yeah.
All right, this is Bowen Coe, and if you don't know who he is, and you might locally, because he's been doing Facebook ads, and I guess the radius of the ads is reaching some of us here in Osceola County, but it seems like he has a lot of support, but he doesn't have a lot of support in Tallahassee. Let's see this video.
Antonis met with Coe at his home today, and Nick, he defended his campaign and his own life story.
So this is one of the attacks that some of the attacks as they scroll through here that they were claiming you see signs defunded. Coe was born in China, but says he came to the U.S. as a college student after he was arrested for holding a Bible. It's true many of his smaller donations and donors come from out of the state of Florida. He says those are just personal connections from his growing grocery store empire.
I'm an American citizen. My passport is right here. I have the same rights to serve my community, to serve this country.
Bowen Coe says it's been a long time since he's thought of himself as anything but American. His opponents seem determined to paint him with a different brush.
This mailer doesn't even look like me.
Mailers have been sent out claiming he's funded by the Communist Party of China. His campaign signs have been defaced, and an interview was given to a right-leaning outlet fueling the suggestion he's a traitor trying to seek higher office. Coe says the attacks are working.
Even my wife, last few days, received phone calls in the middle of the night, people yelling at her, swearing.
Coe has now filed 2 lawsuits against the Senate Republican Campaign Committee and the online media outlet The Florida Voice, saying the reality is far from the narrative. Records I obtained show Coe is mostly self-funding his campaign. While many of his other donations do come from outside Florida, they're from friends and business associates in the Asian food world, where he has 9 stores in 7 states. We reached out to all the people he's named in his lawsuits and his opponent, Keith Truenow. Only the Florida Voice got back to us and said, "We're real journalists and don't care about frivolous lawsuits." Coe says he wants his campaign to be about issues like toll reform, property insurance, and illegal immigration.
All he wants to talk about is where I came from. America is beyond that. We are one America.
Including donations to himself, only 14% of Coe's money comes from outside Florida, none of it directly from China. Carla and Greg?
All right, so here are the facts on Bowen Coe. He's a businessman who has lived in Florida since 2020. He is suing the Senatorial Campaign Committee over these mailers, which I don't know where the mailers come from, but best guess as any would be Simwins and Anthony Pedicini.
You got to wonder, right, if it's them or not.
He's running for Senate District 13, which includes parts of West Orange County and Lake County. He faces Keith Truenow in the primary on August 20th. That is to replace outgoing Florida House Representative C.J. Blancett. The mailer asked the question, why are Chinese donors from all over the country flooding Bowen Coe? And he went ahead and said that it's a paid political advertisement from the Senatorial Committee. He is suing the Senatorial Committee and Florida's Voice individually, Brendan Leslie, who is the founder of Florida's Voice. So And, the funny thing about this, John, is, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before the show, if there was serious evidence pointing to the fact that this man has true connections to communist China, okay, I get it.
Or to the party.
Yeah, right. And we know somebody locally here that has connections to the Communist Party of China.
Well, let's say, to government.
We're not going to say a
government,
name. The government of China.
Yeah, possibly. Here's mysterious ties. Somebody with more mysterious ties than the candidate here that's suing the senatorial campaigns.
But this is par for the course. When the party doesn't want somebody, they will spend all this money to go after other Republicans that they don't want to get the Republican they do want. And it's not saying anything bad about Keith Truenow, but this is just wrong. And we've seen this time and time again. We saw this, like you said, in District 35 when Erica Booth was running against Scotty Moore, and they tried to destroy this man's character. It's not right. It's not
so here's I know the candidate, and I'll say this. So Truenow, the difference between this race and 35, because it's the same thing that's happening, but the difference is that in this race, there's no bad guy, right? Truenow is not a bad guy. He's not a bad Republican. He's not a rhino. That's not him. He's actually a good conservative guy. But they want him, right? In District 35, we have a rhino who they were helping support, right? And it just goes to, this is about personal relationships. It's a club, and that's it. And you hate to reduce the governing, something so important as the government or governing body in the United States, right, where this is a sacred thing for us, elections and government, right, in a republic. Well, they're fighting. They're spending all of this money to attack and ruin a guy because they prefer another one. And we have to talk about whether or not that's the right thing to do. Agreed. If this guy, if the candidate had any ties to the Communist Party, if there was any kind of real evidence, I would be the first one. I hate the Chinese government with a passion. I absolutely, the CCP, when I'm dreaming at nighttime like I'm a hero and I'm taking out the bad guy, it's the Chinese communists who I'm dreaming of, And so these are the enemy of the United States, in my opinion. These are one of the big enemies of the United States, the Chinese Communist Party. And the fact that they would infiltrate our elections, would they try? Of course. And if there's any ties to them, great. But they have not been able to produce any evidence that that's the case. And so you don't destroy somebody who has the American dream, and you don't destroy the American dream of a good citizen so that you can get your political whim achieved. That is truly wrong. I don't know what's the case here. I know him. I know the candidate. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. He came. He followed a business. I would hate, if there's any evidence, then show it. Show it, because a defamation lawsuit will be defeated.
Yeah.
So show what you have. But if you're lying and you're trying to destroy this man's reputation and his life and his business, then shame on you, and the people who involved should be absolutely tarred and feathered.
Absolutely. This is just another case of the party picking their favorites, getting involved in races, and we don't want the party to get involved in races, not to this level where they're sending out these destructive mailers, these nasty mailers. They do no good for no one. The people don't want them. They don't like them. This is why Erica Booth lost in 35, is because of that. That's part of it. That's part of it. The other part of it is that she's not a conservative. She's a true rhino, and her heart isn't in the race. But the other part of it was the nasty mailers.
Well, but the thing is that the nasty mailers they're not identified with the campaign, right? You don't know. You can only assume, man, look, Erica's terrible, because nobody's looking at the disclaimers. And even the disclaimers don't point to Erica Booth. They don't say this is put out by Erica Booth. They say they're put out by this guy or this fake PAC and that fake PAC and whatever, right? So you never know. I think that in the end, we may not like them, but they work. And that's a sad thing. You imagine nobody's going to say this if it's not true, right? We have an honor system here in the United States where we believe you're telling the truth. And it's hard to believe that somebody's going to look in your eyes and lie to you, or somebody's going to send you a piece of mail, right, and put an American stamp on that piece of mail and then send you a lie, willing to destroy somebody over a political office. And the fact is they are.
We've seen it here.
Secretary of Supervisor of Elections stood in front of all of us and lied. So
that's what I'm saying. Here's the real disgusting thing about this, is that you should not You should absolutely not be able to call in a personal favor and ask somebody to destroy somebody else so that you can get a political seat. That is unacceptable. Yeah. That's the bad thing. That's the bad. We want the best. Send the best people into office. And be willing to have the character as an elected official already, as somebody who's involved in the governance. Have the integrity to say, you know what, we're not going to get involved. Look, we love you. We hope you're there. I'm going to make a contribution to your campaign, and I'm going to ask all of my friends to make a contribution to your campaign, but we're not going to destroy this person because you feel entitled to the seat to that degree. That's not good.
That's the key. Entitlement. There's an entitlement mentality around here that just never ends. Again, getting back to supervisor of elections, the entitlement mentality. First problem came up in August of 2022, right? Again, we waited 14 months, didn't do anything, as though, well, I don't have to worry about it because nobody's going to do anything. And you know what? Nobody did.
Yeah. No.
That's why you've got this mentality going on.
It's really terrible. Yeah. I mean, it's sad. It's sad that we're willing to accept that as Americans.
Well, I'm not willing to accept it.
I'm not willing to accept it either.
I don't know about you guys, but
they can go to hell. Let's go after them.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on in that race, what's going on with that lawsuit. It's going to be interesting. So, like John said, we are totally against Amendment 4, and the Vote No on 4 campaign has launched this commercial to help show people how deceptive and extreme Amendment 4 is. So here it is.
And switch, sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, all deceptions that make one thing seem like another. Like Amendment 4, an abortion amendment that's much more extreme than at first it seems. Here's Amendment 4, and here are other amendments from years past. Most provide detailed definitions of essential words, so voters know what they're voting on. So how many definitions does Amendment 4 provide? 0. This small trick is a big scam. Amendment 4 says no law shall restrict abortion before viability, but never defines viability. It allows late-term abortions for a patient's health, but never defines patient's health. It allows so-called healthcare providers, not doctors, to define these terms, but never defines healthcare provider, a term broad enough to include non-medical staff at abortion clinics. Just as bad, Amendment 4 eliminates Florida's parental consent laws, replacing consent with notification, and making abortion the only medical procedure a minor could undergo without a parent's consent. They didn't have to write Amendment 4 this way. But they did. Why? Because they want to deceive you, to make their extreme amendment seem reasonable. This is what Amendment 4's ballot summary says, but this is what it means. No law shall prohibit any abortion at any time for any reason determined by abortion clinic employees. This amendment makes abortion the only medical procedure your child can undergo without your consent. It sounds extreme, because it is extreme. No definitions, no doctors, no parental consent. Amendment 4, way too extreme, and not what it seems.
Wow.
Well, I mean, Amendment 4, let's talk about this issue, right? Like, a lot of people are like, John, I don't think that you should take a stance on abortion. It's a rough stance to take, but I think that we can all normal people who don't dye their hair blue until they've lost all their brain cells can agree that a post-abortion world would be a better place than an abortion world, right? And people want to fight over these exceptions. What's the exception? Where do you draw the line? What do you draw? Well, certainly I don't draw the line at having a massage therapist say that I can have an abortion and being the determining healthcare authority, right? Certainly the idea that you can have an abortion at 36 weeks, that's not where I would draw the line. Certainly I wouldn't draw the line at all the deception. They're basically at parental consent, right? Not having to tell the parents. So that your abuser, your sexual abuser can take you to go get an abortion and your parent will never find out. That's not where you draw the line on abortion. So you can continue to have the discussion on abortion, and it doesn't have to come away where we absolutely destroy any common sense way to look at abortion in general and move towards a post-abortion world, which is where we should be. right? On a moral level, on a societal level. This is not about Republican or Democrat. But we shouldn't be in a world where abortion is a solution to anything, right? That's not, and just to be clear, like when people talk about these exceptions about rape or incest or whatever, those are not the majority of abortions. The majority of abortions, by far the vast majority, are purely elective abortions. And that's not the kind of world that we should be living and raising our kids in.
No, I agree. And the thing is, even if you're pro-choice, the way this bill is written, it really leaves a whole ton of gray area on a lot of things. It's just bad all around. It just needs to go.
I mean, Tom could be your nail tech and give you the advice to go get an abortion, and then all of a sudden you go and get an abortion with his note. I mean,
dressmaker.
He likes doing nails. That's why.
Don't trust me to be your nail tech. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, guys. So I think this is the last story for state of Florida. This woman was arrested for allegedly threatening to kill Governor DeSantis, and here's a good look at her.
Whoa.
She looks very happy here. According to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement alerted Hillsborough County to a threatening message Danielle Calloway had posted on the governor's website requesting an urgent in-person meeting. However, under the meeting summary of issue portion of the website, Calloway reportedly wrote, "You gonna try and Baker Act me again? Come on over and try, you scurry ho, I kill ya, you know already, blah, 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 blah." You can read the rest if you want to. It's just insane ramblings from an insane woman, so I don't know.
Okay.
Mental illness is running wild across the United States, and yes, it's running wild across the state of Florida, too.
Well,
and there it is.
This is, I mean, we try to laugh at this story, right? Like it's something threatening. This person is not going to kill the governor, okay? This is not like an actual real threat. This is, however, a real threat to our society in the sense that we're allowing people to go untreated and mentally ill. Yeah. And those are the people who are creating the situations which cause catastrophes in the world that then we overreact to and create legislative that burden the regular American citizen. And until we deal with and we treat mental illness in this country in a way that is appropriate, we're always going to have these outliers that gives the politicians excuses to make our life worse. And so it's something that we have to deal with. We're gonna have to definitely address mental illness in this state, in all of our states, in all of our country, and try to make our society whole again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys, so before we go to Osceola County, we have this important message from a wonderful human being, Julia Tavares.
Teachers are advocates for students and are passionate about their success. Teachers are familiar with the challenges and issues facing schools and educators. Julia Tavares is a teacher, and as your next school board member, she can ensure that policies and decisions prioritize the needs of students and create a positive learning environment for all. On August 20th, vote for a dedicated professional who is committed to the field of education. Julia's passion for teaching and learning drives her to work tirelessly to improve schools, support teachers, and advocate for policies that benefit students. Vote for someone who can make a positive impact on the educational system and the lives of students. Vote for Julia Tavares for School Board District 3.
This message is paid for and approved by Julia Tavares, nonpartisan candidate for Osceola School Board District 3.
Come on, guys.
Okay, welcome back.
He loves dancing around.
Yeah.
It cracks me up every time I say it.
Yeah, so listen, if you have an ad, you have a political ad for your campaign that you want to get up on the show, feel free to send us the ad. We'll put it up. It doesn't cost you anything. This is a non-monetized show. So, we'll put it up. I don't care. It could be Brandon Arrington. You send us your ad, we'll put it up. Now, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Believe me, we're going to comment on it. But feel free to send your ad. We'll put it up, and we'll talk about what makes you the best or the worst candidate in Osceola County or anywhere else throughout the state. If you guys want an ad on here, send it our way. We're happy to put it up. If you have any comments or suggestions on the show, we're happy to deal with those also. We try to make the show as interactive and as fun as possible. And if you got anything, we'll disperse the news.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so starting us off, John, St. Cloud City Council decided to axe that public art fee we talked about a couple of shows back. They're saying for commercial development in this headline, but it wasn't that way. It wasn't just for commercial development. It was for residential as well. But there's an example of art in downtown St. Cloud. So with these new higher mobility fees coming down the pike, St. Cloud City Council is backtracking on plans to require developers to spend up to $1 million on public art. During a special workshop last week, council members reached a consensus to scrap the public art fee for new commercial projects and lower the cap on new residential subdivisions from $1 million to $200,000. For Mayor Nathan Blackwell and Councilman Colby Urban and Ken Gilbert, wow, surprise, surprise, that was a deal breaker. We don't want to do anything that would create a perception that St. Cloud is a place where you don't want to come because now you've got this additional cost, Blackwell said. I'm not convinced that it will encourage commercial investment, but I have this feeling it's going to discourage it. Blackwell also worried that the ordinance would complicate the permitting process for new development and create a headache for code enforcement if the art isn't properly maintained. I'm really struggling and I have a hard time supporting this, he said. All right, no surprise there that Mayor Blackwell would have an issue with that, or Colby and Gilbert.
Yeah, why? Because they're owned by developers, right? Right. So, yeah, they're not going to vote for that. These guys, Colby Urban was spawned from two developer companies, I think. Like, he came out like as a logo. He was birthed as a logo for two developers, and they speak for him, right? So he's actually mute, and they put like a chip inside of his brain that makes sounds come out of his electronic voice box in line with what the developers want. And here's the thing, I like the guy, he's a kid, you know, I personally like, he's a nice person, he's a good-hearted person, I'm sure that he's all kinds of great positives about him as a person, but as a politician you have to have a spine more than anything else. And if you can't represent the people, then don't run for office. If you can't stand up against the special interests who bear down on you on a constant basis, like a man is supposed to be able to do, then don't run. If you can't stand, don't run. And that's what we have. We have a community that's full of men who can run, but they can't stand. And we need to stop that and fix it. It's the same thing with, I mean, really, the mayor. This mayor, I mean, this is a pastor, right? We're talking about a guy who's a pastor at Cornerstone Church, right? Cornerstone Church.
Well, he doesn't call it a church anymore. Now
what does it call it?
It's called Cornerstone Family.
Okay, BS. It's supposed to be a church. Right? It's all those people go there to hear the word of God.
Political correctness.
Right? The people go there to hear the word of God. They go there to hear the gospel. They don't go there for any other reason. And if you're going there to hear the gospel, and then you preach the gospel on Sunday, and then Monday through Saturday you're preaching corrupt politics, then you're a problem. And that's the case with this mayor. He has been, from Monday to Saturday, he's one guy, and on Sunday, I don't know what happens. He goes to confession, and then boom, he wakes up the next Sunday morning, and he's somebody completely different. BS. I don't buy it. I don't like it. I don't like watching it. This guy's owned and bought 100 times over. He looks like a NASCAR fender. I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. I don't have any respect for him. You know, I've seen him, and here's the thing. This is another person on a personal level. On a personal level, he and I may be, we may like the same things. We both like to fish. We both may like to hunt. We both like Corvettes. You know, he drives a yellow Corvette, I think, right? Here's the thing. We may be similar on the personal level. I may like him. But the fact is, when you stand up or you run for office, not stand up because we already talked about their inability to do that, but when you run for office, you're sacrificing yourself to serve your community. You're no longer just you. You're me. When I ran, I'm no longer just John Arguello, my way, John Arguello, what John Arguello wants. But now I'm the family who hurts on the Saturday who can't feed their kids. Now I'm this kid who can't get to school. Now I'm that person over there who's stuck in traffic for 3 hours. Now my feelings and my efforts belong to the community. And these guys don't. And I don't have respect for that. When you can abandon that, especially when you go on Sunday and you preach all these great things, it just makes it worse.
Yep. And, you know, I'm just happy that we are nearing the end of Nathan Blackwell in St. Cloud. But never forget Nathan Blackwell, who got in trouble for campaigning from the pulpit. Okay, he did, when he first ran for mayor. Never forget all the lies that Nathan Blackwell has told, whether it be on his campaign mailers or to your face. Never forget that he tried to cover up for the two people who perpetrated the most heinous crime in St. Cloud history. And that's a fact, that he lied to the Orlando Sentinel about his knowledge of these people and their involvement in his church. This is a man that no one should ever forgive for what he's done.
I mean, and he's I can't get over it. I don't know how the elders at the church are okay with it. You know, I mean, it's one thing to forgive somebody and to allow them to continue on their path and doing what they're doing, but if there's never a reform, right? And that's the key thing. If you don't take the actions to redeem your behaviors, right? Like me, I'm a big cursor. I hate that about myself, right? Like I try not to. I don't do it on the show because, you know, I think it's super disrespectful.
I can show you some text.
Exactly. Don't believe me. Here's the thing, but I don't play the hypocrite and act like I'm a sweet tooth, you know, just, you know, non-sinner. No, I'm a big sinner. But I'm a redemption story. I do that every day. I beg for forgiveness of my community and my family and everyone involved in my life. But this guy goes Sunday and he preaches and preaches and preaches. I mean, I can't be a hypocrite to that degree on a daily basis. Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know how he does it without being exhausted all the time.
I don't know, John. I don't think you've ever committed the most or tried to cover up for the people who committed the most heinous crime in a small town's history.
No, I try to uncover things.
You know?
I don't try to cover up anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know how I feel about my former opponent on the city council. I'm not going to say any more about that. We'll leave him alone. I'm trying to leave him alone. All right, so Osceola parents and coaches are voicing their concerns about swift moves to cut some of the district sports. And, John, you should know a lot about this since you were the one who hosted this. This was, what was it, 2 Saturdays ago? Or was it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. These parents in Osceola County joined together for a town hall to voice their concerns and brainstorm solutions to get several sports programs back in Osceola middle and elementary schools. The meeting was hosted by School Board Member John Arguello, District 3 at Michigan Avenue Elementary. Coaches, teachers, and parents spoke about the recent cut of some sports in the district and how the district leaders handled the problem. And that was really great of you to do, John, you know, to reach out and try and make this happen for these parents.
Well, you know, the reason I like these town halls, first of all, they've always resisted. The previous superintendent, she resisted allowing me to have any kind of access to the district, you know, and she tried to marshal her forces against me on a constant basis. This superintendent is a little bit more transparent. He's a little bit more tolerable of input that is contrary to his wishes. And these school board members are, they're equally inept as the last ones for the most part. But because the superintendent is not as corrupt, then all of a sudden, you know, they're not as effective at being corrupt. So, you know, I think that the community deserves an opportunity to speak on the record about some of these things, and this is on the record. It's memorialized, and so that's why I did it. I'm glad that somebody reported on it. This is really important. It's going to come up before the meeting, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's going to come up before the school board again.
Yeah. So, moving on, John, Osceola commissioners considering an alternative to the 90-day moratorium on rezonings, and I hate to say I told you so. I thought they said we couldn't do a moratorium, you know?
Yeah, then they say they're going to do or consider it, and now they say they can't do it or they don't want to do it, or there's got to be an alternative, quote unquote.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Board of County Commissioners delayed this vote last Monday on a proposed 90-day moratorium on applications rezoning commercial land for residential use. The ordinance will go back to the commission on July 16th. Well, yeah, that's next Monday, I guess, right? However, County Manager Don Fisher indicated during Monday's meeting that the county may find a different way to limit residential zonings. Fisher said that the code change would require a market study as part of commercial to residential rezoning applications, and that the report would need to provide compelling evidence that such a change is warranted. In effect, this will make it harder for developers to get approval for such rezonings and comprehensive plan amendments. I don't believe that.
Not for a minute.
I don't believe that.
Look, just in our community alone, they were trying to turn that golf course into a whole bunch of houses.
Yeah.
And then justify it.
Yeah, and not even houses, apartments, right? I mean, it was
Some of it was. Yeah, low-income housing.
Apartments and condos and all kinds of range. Whatever the max. If you could remove a bird nest and put a condo on that branch, they would have done that. And that's what the entire county is doing. Why? Because the people who are controlling these governmental seats, right? The people who have their hands way deep into that puppet in the political seat are the developers. And this is not against developers. Because you have to remember, people start businesses, right? Like my family has been in business. My dad had his own business for a long time. These are business people. They try to do their thing. They try to maximize their investments. Yep. The problem is that the politicians are supposed to take into account the will of the community. And then they have to have the backup. But they only care about their jobs and ambition. They don't care about what the community wants.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Sheriff Marcos Lopez, John.
This is a rough. Okay, this is a rough. Before we get into the news, this is a rough race. It is super complicated. It is really just a convoluted mess of mash and hate and anger and distraction. And this is like, remember that old show Dallas when we were kids, Don? Right? When we were right. I don't know. I remember how old I was, but I remember like that was supposed to be the drama. Like that was like the ultimate nighttime soap opera, right? That's what this sheriff's race is turning into. Now, I don't have any dog in this race, right? There's nobody that I've come out and said, I really support this guy, this is who I really want to win, and whatever like that. I just, when it's this complex, right, then you got to wonder who's behind it. Yeah. And based on my observations, well, let's watch the story first, and then let's talk about the observations.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Message, and the woman who's making the accusation, a former deputy, tells 9 Investigates that another deputy shared that photo with the sheriff. Investigative reporter Ashlyn Webb spoke to the woman who reported it to FDLE.
The allegations will now be discussed in an evidentiary hearing as former Osceola County Deputy Samantha Sanchez is fighting for her job back. She was accused of lying about her whereabouts when she was running late to work, but she feels her termination was retaliatory after deputies learned she had screenshots of the inappropriate text conversation her ex-boyfriend allegedly had with Sheriff Marcos Lopez.
My immediate thought process was to confront Alex with it.
Sanchez says that was her reaction after finding text on her then-boyfriend's phone. 9 Investigates confirmed Deputy Alex Valentin received a nude photograph from another civilian employee at the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. Sanchez says that she took this screenshot that she says shows Valentin sharing the photo with his friend and boss, Sheriff Marcos Lopez. Instead of condemning it, Sanchez says Lopez does the opposite, saying, quote, I'd expletive the crap out of her. Sanchez says she immediately confronted Valentin on what she found on his phone.
He told me that the sheriff was aware that this female liked him, and the sheriff had interest in seeing her nude.
Sanchez reported that in these documents submitted for her evidentiary hearing to get her job back. Sharing a nude photo of another person without that person's consent is a first-degree misdemeanor in Florida. However, the woman depicted in the photo declined to press charges.
The sheriff just witnessed Alex commit a crime, and no punishment. No punishment, no report, no nothing.
When you saw that photo, not only was your boyfriend sending it to the sheriff, but your boss was responding to it.
Yes.
How'd you react?
How do you have a sheriff in office like that? He's supposed to be the role model for all other deputies, and clearly he's not. So, how do you have that? How do you have a sheriff that can't be alone in the room with employees?
Over a year later, Sanchez says she confided in a female deputy about what she found on his phone. She writes that days after that conversation, Valentin confronted her at work about the screenshot.
He said that because the sheriff had heard that there was a screenshot on my phone of their conversation, and he wanted Alex to go through my phone to either find it and delete it or confirm if that was true.
This past February, Sanchez was terminated, accused of violating the truthfulness policy. She says the sheriff's office looked for a reason to fire her and found something she says was not a fireable offense.
I think it was just me running late, honestly. I gave a cross street about a mile away from my exact location, and I wasn't immediately at that intersection, but I believe that I was targeted.
The Osceola County Sheriff's Office says, in part, multiple IT specialists have looked at this photograph and have serious concerns about its authenticity. The validity and possible political motivation of these allegations will be examined thoroughly, and any allegations of misconduct will be addressed appropriately. We spoke by phone with a woman depicted in the nude photograph. She confirmed she sent the photo to the deputy, and FDLE did speak to her. Again, she declined to press charges against Valentin, but she says this is the first she learned the sheriff is accused of responding to that image. She says she's shocked and unhappy with Lopez's alleged response and is disappointed in how the sheriff's office handled the situation. Reporting in studio, Ashlyn Webb, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
FDLE has not.
All right, so before we talk about this, I just want to correct myself and just to throw out an apology real quick. I got a little bit overzealous in my comments. You know, Mayor Blackwell did not cover up the most heinous crime in St. Cloud history, and that's true. He claimed no knowledge of the people involved, and there was evidence to the contrary. So I just wanted to get that straight, put that out there, and that's it. But how about Sheriff Lopez? It just seems like every week now there's a news story coming out about Sheriff Lopez and the department.
So this is very similar to the Julius Melendez situation, where it was a clear setup. There's no doubt in my mind at all. This was a setup, and the problem with this setup is that the politician involved is so dumb, right? That he doesn't just like fall or trip over the setup. He takes his clothes off and he jumps into the pool of the setup, right? It's like completely with no thought, no process. He like disrobes, jumps into the pool, swims. You know, it's like watching those cartoons with a mirage in the desert and they're like drinking sand. You know, that's how dumb these people are, that they fall for these setups. Are you? And I hate to call him. Well, I don't mind calling Julius dumb, but. You're a sheriff, and somebody shows you a nude picture of one of your employees. Ugh, how are you going to respond with, I would? Why? Why respond? You don't have any friends in this business when you're a politician. What you have is a community that you serve, and everything that you say and do is going to get back to them. Everything at some point gets uncovered. And when it comes back, then at the very least, man up, apologize, move on, whatever. And there's too many of these problems. You can't be loose. In the end, when your job is to lead, especially as a sheriff, when you're a sheriff, your job is to lead a whole bunch of deputy sheriffs, right? And you just, as a leader, you have to be better than this. I mean, and the setup, I mean, is that the people who got information like this, they were itching for information like this. They've had it for a long time. They had it in their pocket. And they're waiting for it to get close to that primary election, and then everybody's going to stop dropping their ace cards, right? And you know it's going to happen. That's the setup that I'm talking about. So there's a lot of people in this race. I think a whole bunch of the people in this race are involved in just kind of preventing him from winning. And then at the end of the day, there's a $250 million budget, and that $250 million budget is what's driving the this move to get away from Marcos Lopez. Is he the best sheriff in the world? No. Is he the worst sheriff in the world? No. To be honest, I don't even follow his output. I don't follow how good of a politician he is. The sheriff is a special place. I do know that he's somewhat of a constitutional sheriff. I have never been offended. I actually, personally, I have been offended by him. Remember, we had that HOA meeting, like, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and there was supposed to be a sheriff that came, and the sheriff never came, right? Yep. And so he left me high and dry. Now here I am, being typical John Arguello. I'm not worrying about what I'm saying. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna walk into a group. I don't care that nobody doesn't like me or does like me or whatever like that. I come in there, I spit a whole bunch of fire, people get all upset, and they were gonna kill me, and there's supposed to be a deputy sheriff there, and he never came, and whatever. I was like, hey, how are you gonna leave me high and dry here? All right? Because I was just telling the truth. People didn't want to hear it. But I was going to tell the truth regardless. And nothing happened. I wasn't afraid for my life, nothing like that. But I did get stood up by a deputy sheriff, and to me, I felt that was a personal slight against me. But nonetheless, I don't pick a sheriff because of how good I get along with him. I pick a sheriff by how many bad guys he takes off the streets, by how much he serves the community. And this is a lapse in judgment of leadership.
Seems to be there's a few of those that are coming out of the sheriff's office, John, and we were just talking about him like 2 shows ago. We were talking about him. Something happened there. I don't even remember what it was, and then now this, and now this, John.
You know what though? Here's the interesting thing. People always tend to put things in politics, okay? And this is really not about politics. As a naval officer, I wouldn't expect that kind of behavior out of any people that work for me. In the corporate world, I wouldn't expect that. So you can blame it on politics. You can blame it on anything you want. At the end of the day, nobody in a leadership position should be acting that way.
You got to have a certain level of discipline, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And especially you, right, as an E9, and then as a warrant officer too, right? I don't know what they call him. Is it a chief in the Navy also?
Chief warrant officer.
Chief warrant officer, you call it chief. I thought you call it like glug or something. I don't know. But anyways, if you have to be in the military to really understand that reference. But if you're at that high level, right, and you're trying to mentor people underneath you to come up and be really good people, because the whole job of somebody as high as an E9, I have so much, like all jokes aside, a ton of respect. E9 to me is like a holy grail of a job. It really means that you're taking care of your soldiers.
Truth be told, I had to skip that one to go to warrant officer, but that's okay.
Well, same thing, whatever. But the point is that
I got you. I appreciate it.
I really love that. It's one of the things I love most about you is that high enlisted rank, and you take care. You're supposed to be training people on how to get to their best.
Yeah.
And so and that's why, right? Like if you never complain down. Right? You're always complaining up. You never complain down. Yep. And the reason you never complain down is because you never want to soil the field of sprouting plants, right? And so this to me is a really ugly downward ugly behavior, right? And it's not the best. And I mean, I don't know. It's really unfortunate. Although I still think it's a setup. I still think it was set up. I still think that, this was intentional, and and these moving parts happen, and this is all for political gain, but it's really ugly on his part.
But look, at the end of the day, setup or no setup, you should never put yourself in a position to be that way. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're the sheriff, if you're in charge of a printing press company or whatever it might be.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't ever want to put yourself in a position to set yourself up.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, walking right into it. I mean, to me, that's just a lack of complete judgment. You just lose all reality of what's going on. And that alone tells me, I don't know if that's a person I want to be around. Forget politics. I don't even know if I want to be around that person. If they lack that much judgment,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And not that I haven't been there myself. I'm not judging him based on the, like I said, I always say it myself. I'm a worse man than anybody in the world. I'm the worst kind of guy. I'm whatever I can say about myself, right?
And people make mistakes.
People make mistakes.
Sure.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, you've got to fess up right away, I think. You got to come back. You should be coming out right away and being like, you know what? Everybody makes these lapses of mistakes. I'm a man. Yeah. Locker room talk is ugly, and I allowed myself to be ugly for a moment. And, and that's what this is. And I apologize to this. You know what? You got to humble yourself. Yep. And that's what this is. It's an opportunity to humble yourself. That's why I always take all my licks with pride, because it's an opportunity to say, you know what? It's true. I'm not always the best. I'm not always the best John I can be. I don't always bring honor to my family. Sometimes I fall well below God's expectation of me. And I'm sorry. And, but I'm trying. My intention is good. I'm trying to move forward with this imperfect soul.
And there's something to be said about making mistakes, John. I just made a mistake earlier. I
right away.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. And but there's certain types of mistakes. You know what I mean? There's a mistake in something you say, and there's some mistakes in something you do.
Yeah.
And with Julius Melendez and what happened with him, that was a serious mistake in judgment. And the same goes here with Sheriff Lopez.
Well, I'll tell you this: I will never. I will never. And I don't use the word never very often, unless I'm joking. But this is all jokes. I would never trust a man like that with my daughter.
Yeah.
And my 18-year-old daughter. Never. I'll never do it.
Yeah, an interesting thing. When I was in the Navy years ago, and they used to have a thing called a pattern of misconduct. And so what that basically was is that people make mistakes. Sometimes you do something wrong, and you man up, you move on, and you put it behind you. It's a learning experience, okay? Yeah. But when it becomes a pattern, that's when it's time to take action, and that's when people would start getting rid of people. I mean, it might be for the smallest things, but if you can't learn from it, and you're not manning up to it.
I mean, look at Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Mary Jane's a great example of that, right? She's not manning up to her mistakes, and she lied on TV during a story. That's like, here's the thing, something that's close to you and me, like what do they call stolen valor?
Yeah.
Right? That's just, you don't do that. You don't do that. That'd be like me saying I won I earned the Medal of Honor, or I earned a Purple Star. It doesn't have to be like so crazy like a Medal of Honor, or something I didn't achieve. It could have been like, something I didn't achieve. In the military, you don't do that, and that's why everything is always public. It's all about you being this authentic human being. You wear everything about yourself on your chest, and there's no hiding, there's no whatever. And if you put something on your chest, it's so that everybody calculates. You're a calculation, right? Like I need to know what kind of soldier you are. I need to know who you are as a man right away. And the fact that you're wearing a uniform, the fact that you have this, or the fact that you have that qualification, it tells me, okay, in an emergency, this is what I can expect out of you, and I expect you to be able to reach what the expectation is. And when you're elected, that's what a lot of it is that, right? Like there's an expectation. And Mary Jane, I mean, all these Arringtons, they never meet the expectation. They always just...
I wouldn't know about the other two. They live in our neighborhood. I've never seen them.
Oh man, well, I've seen them. Easy. Just look at an expenditure of tax dollars, and you'll see their campaign materials. That's true, and that really pisses me off because they literally they're campaigning off of their tax dollars. They don't spend any of their campaign money, but they spend our tax dollars to campaign for themselves, and I think they're going to get in trouble for that soon.
Yeah. Trees.
The free trees that they gave away. They sent out a picture of Brandon and Kirsten and some dog. I couldn't tell who was who in that postcard about dog adoptions. Yeah. I mean, it never ends. It never ends. And they're happy to take advantage of the citizens of District 3, of District 46, of District 25, of the entire county of Osceola County. They have no shame at all, and that's why they need to be punished by the voters.
Entitlement mentality. It's all about entitlement mentality, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, guys, we did talk about these gut punches that Sheriff Lopez is taking, and here's another one. His right-hand man was arrested for cyber-stalking, domestic battery, and this is Doug Ford, and we know him. I mean, he seemed like a great guy. I mean, I'm not saying he's not. He's innocent until proven guilty, but... the sheriff's office charged him with cyber stalking and domestic battery this week. Douglas Ford, 36, is currently in custody at the Osceola County Jail after a judge signed an arrest warrant. Sheriff's office said in a statement he's facing multiple charges, including domestic battery, cyber stalking, and 10 counts of accessing a computer system for audio and video surveillance without authority.
That's no way.
Yeah.
Man, that's ugly, man. So here again, I'm just saying, this is purely speculation. I don't know the detail of the story, right? But this is why I say things are always set up, right? Because all humans are the same, right? We all bleed red, right? We all cry for our mom when we're hurt. We all do have the same one, or at the very basic level, right? So is pressure being put on this? Let's say this guy's married. I don't know. I'm making it up. I want to make sure that you guys understand I'm making it up. But let's say this guy's married. They're going through marital problems, right? And then some political operator comes across, right? They know they're having trouble. Let's say he's in the middle of a divorce. They'll come to the wife. they'll bribe the wife, they'll give the wife a whole bunch of money to come and create these scenarios for lapses of judgment. Now, at the same time, they're going to the workplace, and they're doing this, and they're doing this, and they're doing this, and there's all this evil around you of people putting pressure on you to create places where you trip up and fall down, right? And they do that because they know that that works. I don't know that that's the case here. I'm just saying that that happens all the time, and I'll give you an example for me personally, okay? So, number one, you see Julius's mistake, easy. Julius is apparently a desperate guy, craving, begging for affirmation, and he's so desperate he's willing to go to some child, practically an an adult, a young lady, an 18-year-old woman, for attention. Extremely young lady, an adult, legal adult, right? to get attention for himself, right? Now, with Sheriff Lopez, it's these pictures with so and so. There's just so much evil involved. And you just have to put the noise away. So with me, it was like financial bribe. I had people come and try to bribe me. I've had people try to give me a roll of cash. Okay? I've had people try to offer me jobs that I wouldn't have to go to. I've had people. So if I had taken any of these things at any point, I'd be hemmed up right now. No. I'd be hemmed up. If I had at a moment of a lapse of judgment in that sense, I would be hemmed up right now. And then I would be the guy on the news, and I would be the guy doing that. And you have to understand that you don't have any friend. Your only true friend is your family and God, right? And those are the people that you can depend on. And when you're a public servant, you need to depend. That's what you have to lean on, and you have to make sure that all of you're protecting yourself from all of these things, because many times, and I don't think I'll never tell to the extent to which that they've come to me under what circumstances, and I said no. But I'll tell you that it's constant and it's all the time. And for me, in my mind, now that I've seen it, and this may be great because that I'm a combat veteran, right? And that I have PTSD up the wazoo. And so I'm always like checking my 6 all the time anyways. I'm always looking around. I never relax. So I'm always like, the world is around me. And I'm very aware, very conscious of it. And when somebody gives me a roll of cash, do I think it's, oh yeah, no big deal, it's innocent? No, I can't take that. No, I'm thinking, this has to be a setup, because who the hell is going to offer me a roll of bills, right? So I just think that everybody involved needs to be careful and needs to have their wits about them at all times, and or allowing yourself to do something that is like this, that it's showing a lapse of something. I don't know. No. I mean, you have to be careful.
Yeah. I used to have a boss that used to tell me, a military guy, he said, whatever you're doing, he said, whatever it is that you're doing, or whatever it is that you're saying, treat it as though it's going to be in the front line of the Washington Post. Yeah. Nobody reads a Post anymore.
Yeah, okay, so it's safe. They're saying it's safe then. Okay.
It was great advice, though. I mean, don't do or say anything that you wouldn't expect to be on the front page of the Washington Post.
Yeah, that is good advice. I mean, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. You got to be super careful. I mean, I feel bad. I hate this for any family. You hate for them to have like the level of stress, obviously, that they're having or whatever. I don't revel in people's misery or their difficulties. No. But it creates a problem for Mark Lopez, right? It's just another deputy sheriff does this,
I mean, it's going to be amazing if he makes it through this primary with all.
Yeah, we'll see how good the power of incumbency is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So, guys, last night the Osceola County Chamber of Commerce had their election time political hobnob. All right, and for those of us, we're going to get to that.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We're going to get to that. But, the hobnob, we all know, is basically an establishment event, political
It's
insiders.
Another joke, like the realtors, yeah.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's something that their people participate in. They never really get a whole ton of people there. But it is an opportunity for you to confront these people when you get a chance. So they did do a straw poll there, and they had some winners, John, Jim. So they
are not them.
You
So
the establishment did not pick me. I thought I was going to be me. I thought.
Who conducted the straw poll?
All right.
Who could? That's a good number one question.
Supervisor of elections.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck.
Say it isn't so.
I had a better chance of winning like some kind of prize with the lottery or something.
I got some Cracker Jack.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
So anyway, we're going to present who the hobnob attendees in their straw poll elected to President of the United States. Drum roll, please.
Wait. Who do you guys think won the straw? Who do you guys think is going to win president? What do the polls say? What did CNN say just now? CNN just put out the result of their poll.
CNN is not Mary Jane Arrington or Osceola County. Just keep that in mind.
when the supervisor of elections has a worse reputation than CNN for truth or for accuracy, that's pretty bad. Anyway, CNN reported 49% Trump, 44% Biden. That was their latest poll.
Yeah, so there it is.
So
according to the hobnob attendees, the winner is Joseph R. Biden.
Oh, this is the best. First of all, it's the number one thing that you see. So you open it, everybody's reaction is to laugh, right? Like you can't help it. Joe Biden, come on. In a poll, come on. What does that tell you about the chamber? Immediately it tells you what to expect from all of them.
Yeah, and we can go down the line.
Let's do it.
The next one is CD9, Darren Soto.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let me, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, you want to go next?
Yeah.
All right.
I know who it's going to be.
Wait. Senate 25 is Kristen Arrington.
No, I'm going to give up. I might as well give up.
What are we going to do?
She's not even going to win her primary now. I mean, that's the funny part, right?
It doesn't look
Have you
that
seen
way.
those signs of him, Grayson?
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Man, I thought he was going to come out of the sign and beat me up or something, man.
I know, he's rough, but he has them everywhere. But hey, listen, if you're a Democrat, vote for Alan Grayson. This is a public service announcement. If you are a Democrat, please vote for Alan Grayson. I don't care if I win or lose the election at the end of the day, but I would love to debate Alan Grayson for an hour and a half on any. I will debate.
That would be good, and you got a taste of it if you watch that Alianza debate.
If anytime, I don't care. Alan Grayson can fill a football field with his supporters, right? Although it'd have to be a very small field. But you can fit a football field of your supporters. I will debate you there alone at any point in time. You can write the questions yourself, and I would love to debate you.
No. I would love to see that too. I think a lot of people, people that we know would love to see that. I think it would be a real fiery, good debate. Next up, we already did that one. All right, so next
Cruella
one is...
Cruella DeVille won for District 25.
Yes. This one blew my mind. I don't even know who this is. Representative for District 45, Leonard Spencer?
Nobody knows
who
that
is
is.
Leonard Spencer?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. The straw poll.
Yeah, he won the straw poll.
That's his claim to fame.
It's going to be all over campaign flyers.
That's going to be his profile picture right there. That's the only thing that anybody knows him of. That's the first time anybody has seen his name. That's like a birth certificate to the community is him winning this straw poll because nobody's ever heard of him before.
Yeah. Wow. I don't see any signs or anything for this guy. I mean, it's just...
that might be a misspelling. Was that like an autocorrect or something of somebody else's name? It might have been.
No, that's it. Leonard Spencer.
Oh my gosh! I just, okay.
I guess we're gonna have to do a search and see if we can find him.
Yeah, we are.
All right. So next one is District 46, and it's No Way Jose.
No Way Jose. A blast from the past.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Isn't he on a big real estate deal or a Kmart building?
Yes. What a great deal that is, huh? The former mayor gets a real estate contract deal with the city for $15 million.
Say it isn't so.
$15 million real estate deal, former mayor and the city. Wow, I can't wait. I wish I would love to go to the city and have comments about that, but I got too many things
and
going on.
And he won the chamber straw poll.
Wow.
All right, next up is Eric
Booth.
Yeah.
Listen, Erica Booth, listen, I'm beginning to think that Erica Booth is a zombie. And here's my evidence. She survives a primary race where everybody hates her. People like her less after the primary than before the primary, and she still wins the primary. She wins school board seat. Before that, she wins the school board seat. People like her less after she wins the school board seat than when she won the school board seat. Then she goes to the school board. Then she abandons the school board, runs for state House 33. People like her less after she wins that primary. Then she runs here. Then she wins in the general, or she loses the general. People like her less after the general. And then she runs again in a primary against somebody that people love, and let's see what happens. I mean, she won't die.
Yeah.
She won't get out of the picture. She's going to come back and back and back and back again. She's like a running joke at this point, that there's no cure for.
I am convinced, John, that she is refusing to debate Laura McAdams. I know that WESH Channel 2 has reached out to Laura McAdams to participate in the debate. I know they reached out to you. You and Jose had a debate, and it was a good debate. It was a very clean debate. No fighting. I know that the Democrats in your race had a debate too on Channel 2, but there's no response from Erica Booth. So we know that Ricky
This is crazy.
Ricky won't debate.
Yeah, Ricky won't debate. All these. I guess if your name is Booth, you mean you got to be like in a bathroom stall your whole life or something, hiding from a debate.
All right, so yeah, we did Erica. Okay, so next up is supervisor of elections.
Wow.
Oh, damn. I guess we should call it a day, Jim.
Oh, man.
Supervisor of elections wins a straw poll that supervisor of elections took.
Yeah, that she conducted. I mean, she.
Well, look, you finished dead last, in 2022 for, voter turnout. You're almost dead last the cycle before. You're dead last again the cycle before. Let's re-elect her.
Yeah.
Heck.
And we're so impressed with her performance, we're going to send the Secretary of State, Cord Bird, to come to Osceola County to help her get reelected by doing a video with her.
I still can't believe it.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. All right, so moving on, School Board District 3, Anthony Cook is the big winner. And,
okay, listen. Okay, let's just talk about the realistic chance of this happening. First of all, I think that this guy Angel is a ghost candidate. That's my opinion of him. I think that he got put in there by people who are paying other people to get him in there. And here's what I'm talking about. The establishment that controls all the politicians in Osceola County wants Anthony Cook to win. They broker with some other sleazeball, okay, who's currently on the school board. Okay? That sleazeball helps somebody else get into the race, and they protect them. That's basically the horse trading that goes on in politics. And they're saying, well, as long as you don't attack me, then I'll help this guy get elected to the seat and whatever. All right, that's my opinion. And then you have that guy, Anthony Cook. To me, he's not a ghost candidate. The other guy is a ghost candidate. And then you have Julia Tavares. It's a two-person race. Julia Tavares versus Anthony Cook. Anthony Cook, in my opinion, bad candidate. He'll ruin everything that I've done. He'll destroy all of my work. And if you want to go back, if you want to go in District 3, if you live in District 3, if you live anywhere in Poinciana, downtown Kissimmee, and you want to take the school district back 4 years, back to the corrupt school district that it was, with zero transparency, zero control, and zero attention on Poinciana and the schools here in District 3, then go ahead and elect Anthony Cook. That's exactly what you get. It's a disaster in the making. You will ruin education in Osceola County. You will guarantee yourself that you will stay at 47 out of 47 or 67 out of 67 counties for another 4 years, because that is a disaster in the making. He's as corrupt as the chairwoman of Osceola County School District.
Who he has a personal friendship, a long-time personal friendship.
They're best friends. They're best friends. It's the same as voting a brother and a sister up on there. So I think that that's a disaster. Don't do it. Do not elect him. If you do, I guarantee you that you're asking for problems. And this is not just about an endorsement or anything. I'm just telling the community. If you put him in there, you are creating one seat in two. Then District 4 will own District 3. And District 3 will be a puppy that belongs to the master of District 4. Don't do that. Don't do that at all.
And you talk about a divisive candidate? Holy smokes.
Listen, I guarantee you that he had to clean up his social media, because unless you are a big believer in CRT and Black Lives Matter, then listen, I'm telling you, this is a bad candidate. Is he a bad man? I don't think so. I think he's a good man, okay? But you can get somebody that's so messed up in their ideology that they will ruin the education, because education has already been ruined by people like this. Yeah. And you're going to put another one in there to strengthen the bad parts of education right now. I guarantee you will regret it for the rest of the 4 years at least. You will have buyer's remorse, just like the people who elected Erica Booth, just like the people who elected Teresa Castillo, just like the people who elected, what's her face? I can't even remember her name. Heather Cahoon. Right? If you want to regret your pick like that, then go ahead and vote for Anthony Cook. It's a mistake. I mean, the corrupt people, it wasn't even, they had to spend $750,000 to get them elected. So if they had to spend $750,000 to get them elected, these are not people that the people wanted. They're people that were manipulated into voting for them. Yeah. So don't allow that to happen to you.
All right, so next up is Commission District 1. We knew this, and Peggy Chowdhury. Look, the rest of these
She might as well be unopposed.
They all follow.
Oh, wait. So this one, this is funny. So when we talk about real opposition to candidates, right? I got to tell you, this is not going to be the easy race that people think it is for Brandon Arrington, except for the fact that his mom is the supervisor of elections. I think that's the easiest thing. If you look at him, he looks aged, he looks tired, he looks worried, he looks like crap, right? So I'm telling you that he doesn't look like he doesn't look like some guy playing golf on his daddy's ticket all the time. Yeah. Right? This guy, it looks like he is struggling in his race. I think that he's looking at poll numbers, and he's depending on that supervisor of elections mommy of his to carry him through, because he looks terrible. He looks terrible.
You know, I saw his setup at the Hobnob. It was basically nothing. It was basically
a yard
nothing.
sign sticking up there, yeah.
Yeah, it was basically nothing.
His problem is that the name Arrington is poison right now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if my name were Arrington, I would change it.
I mean, he drew three challengers, right?
Yeah, and that's his saving grace. Yeah. Is that, there's also a libertarian in the race, there's a Republican in the race, and there's a primary. If there had only been Debbie Rambis and him that got to the general, he would have lost his race 100%. Yeah. 100% he would lose his race. So now that there's a Republican, right? If Debbie, we have to make sure, as a community, that Debbie Rambis beats him in that primary race. You have to make sure, as a community, if you're a Democrat out there, I know that you hate me, but if you're a Democrat out there, you need to make sure that you elect Debbie Rambis, and this is not an endorsement or anything, I'm just telling you for the sake of the community, you need to elect Debbie Rambis, because at least you resolve the problem. You don't have a bad guy in the race anymore. Yeah. Right? And then you'll have only people that are maybe, somewhat decent. And Debbie Rambis is a very decent person. I have a lot of respect for her. Her and I may not agree on a lot of the policy or ideology, but she's somebody who will fight for her community. She's not going to sell out. She doesn't need to. No. And I doubt that she would.
She's already been doing it.
Yeah, she's a person of character for sure.
Yeah. So the most interesting thing that happened at the Hobnob last night, John, was this. And that is the Ricky Booth chicken. He's calling out Ricky Booth. Why will he not debate Diana Liebnitzky? And Diana Liebnitzky wants a fair shot at a debate, but Ricky will not debate.
No, he's a chicken. He's a coward. No. He doesn't have a spine. He never had a spine. If you ever watch him, listen, and this might be physical evidence that he's an alien. You know that alien, what's the name of that movie with Will Smith and the alien, Men in Black? Right? Okay. And you remember the giant roach? You guys remember the giant roach? Right? That's the guy with the skin, right? That he takes off. That's Ricky Booth. I'm convinced of it. If you ever watch him stand up, he's like, all like roach-like, like that. And I mean the character roach-like. Watch him. Prove me wrong. Anybody go take a video of Ricky Booth for 10 seconds and send it. I'll give a reward for anybody that can show me a picture of Ricky standing upright for more than 30 seconds. I'll send you an unapologetic patriot t-shirt. If anybody can send me a t-shirt with Ricky Booth standing upright without scratching his testicles or something like that, because that's what he does. If you see it, if you watch him, I guarantee you, watch him stand up. But it's got to be like, it's got to be, you got to do it while he's not looking, so that he doesn't know what's going on. If anybody can send me a 30-second clip of Ricky Booth not standing up and acting weird, I'll send you an unapologetic t-shirt.
There you go. And it's just like Jim was talking about, this entitlement mentality. That's what the Booths have. Both of them, Erica and Ricky, they do not want to debate. They don't feel they have to. And that comes from entitlement. They don't
absolutely.
They don't want to have to put it all out there for the citizens to hear. And it's just sad. It's sad. Diana Leibnitzky deserves a debate, but Ricky won't give it to her. All right, guys, that is it. That's the show.
Wow, man, what a monster of a show that was. How long was that?
1 hour and 47 minutes.
Woo-hoo. Man, it's because you were talking too much, Tom. So listen, thank you so much. God bless you for watching. We really appreciate your support. Thank you for staying with us. I wasn't watching the numbers or anything. On my screen turned off. Normally, I'm like over here, right, and over there and doing all kinds of stuff and trying to chat with you. So I have no idea. If you send us a question or anything, next time shoot me a text. Some of you guys were interacting with me, but not necessarily about the show. But I could tell that you're watching the show, so thank you. We appreciate it. Like and share, please. Jim, thank you so much for coming. Good luck in your race, man. We love you.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
On behalf of Citizen Tom, School Board Member John Arguello, and our great friend here, future Supervisor of Elections, Jim Trouts, we will see you next week. Or who knows?